Hey everybody, Mark from Northeast Bass Fishing. How you doing? Here's some clips of a recent outing from last Thursday, where I went out, fished a local lake, and started off. It was about 20 minutes in. First fish of the day. I was working this point with the chatterbait, and that's the first fish of the day. Decent keeper. It's that half-ounce jackhammer. And a lot of the views are going to be the front view. The back view of the camera, I think it was just the glare was just so bad. It really discolored a lot of the footage from my back camera. You'll see some of them, and you'll see some of the weird colors. So I guess it was just from obsessive, the so much glare that was out that day because the sun was really bright. But I fished this first point that I hit after flipping some weeds and around some docks and stuff, and caught these two largies to start my day. I think I got out around 9 o'clock. Fished till around 2:30, and those my first two right off that point on the chatterbait. A couple decent keepers. After I had frogged for a while and flipped some other stuff, I get to this another point. And this is one of the bigger, probably the biggest point on the lake, and there's this tree down there that I always like to flip because it always seems like it's got a fish on it. So I chuck the jig in there, and as usual, there always seems to be a fish or two on this laydown. So whenever I go to this lake, I always hit it, and I never miss it when I go there because it always seems to produce something. I think I even said to myself, "There's my favorite tree." And it was a nice bass, nice chunk. And then I go around into that back corner there. Actually, first before I do that, I went out in some deep water. There's a hump out in the lake. You'll see some of the buoys that kind of mark the rock hump. And I was throwing the chatterbait around and flipping around the weeds and nothing. So I put on my I put on a rattle trap, and I wanted to kind of throw it around the hump. And the way this fish hit, I thought this was a monster. And I don't know if he just it was kind of the way it was hooked on his head, his face, or if he was down in weeds at the beginning, because I went and grabbed the net, which was kind of buried in some stuff still. Because I didn't want to grab a fish with a rattle trap, and then I see him come up, and I'm like, well, he's not that huge. He's only maybe a 2.25 at the most. I don't even think he's 2.5, but he was strong. And the way he hit that chatterbait, I thought it was a monster. But a nice fish, but still, he certainly he felt a lot bigger than he was. That's just that Berkeley War Pig, that 3/4 ounce I've been throwing around. That's a nice trap if you guys have never thrown the War Pig. So that was a decent fish right there. That was on the rattle trap. So I've got three, I believe, decent keepers at the time. And then I went back across towards that point and went back in there. I had a snack, and I don't know, I probably didn't really need to show you guys this, but I threw the frog a lot and had so many blow-ups, so many swings and misses. This is the one fish that I actually caught on the frog, which is probably a New Hampshire state record when you see him. That's the one fish that actually got hooked on the frog, that small little, I don't even know if he was a 12-inch bass. That was the only fish that I caught on the frog all day. So I was like 1 for 15 as far as blow-ups go. And, some of them weren't even really legit blow-ups, but some were, which you'll see here in a bit. So after some more frog misses and some flipping in some other weeds with a tube and swings and misses, I went and just threw the jig, hit this shoreline, threw it up on some, some weed and rocks, and caught this nice keeper right there. So that made me feel better. I might have yelled a few F-bombs after that, after missing, previously from this, missing like 4 or 5 fish. But when in doubt, just get that jig and throw it around. You see all those there's like little sticks there, there's rocks. Then I went to this next clump of weeds and threw the jig in there. And this was a no doubt about it. Nice fish. One of the better ones of the day. In the top 3 or 4. Nice chunk. And I think I probably said something, yelled something else at that point, because he was a nice fish. And probably said something like, "Why don't you just stick with the jig, dummy?" Which is probably what I said to myself, or what I yelled. But I wanted to give you guys a good view. Nice fish. I think he was probably over 3 or really high 2s. But that was the nice fish. So here's a better view, and you'll see some of the weird coloration on the camera where the sun is really glare. That glare is coming off the lake. And I think that was the problem. And I took a couple pitches into these weed clumps here, the grass and the pads combo. I always like when there's like different weed types together like that. And I think it was this third pitch in here where he just takes it and runs just boom right to my left. So that made my day. So when in doubt, throw your jig. I guess is what my lesson is for this, at least for me. Makes me feel a lot better. But you can see kind of the weird color on that back camera. It's never happened to me before, so unless the card in my camera's not good. I don't know if you guys who've ever used Tacticams or GoPros, if you have this issue or ever seen it. I'm just assuming it was from the glare, because it was really bright, especially early in the day. From 9 till I'd say, noontime, that sun was really bright. There was no clouds in the sky, and I was kind of surprised when I saw the weird glare on the camera. So my guess is it's just the extreme glare that was out that day. But I kept going down the shoreline, throwing the chatterbait again here. There's this it's like a little cove, a weedy cove. You can't really go too far back. It's too shallow, unless you were on a kayak or something. So I always chuck back in there, throw the frog back in there, throw the chatterbait around. There's some rocks. I throw the jig sometimes. And I was throwing the chatterbait around and caught my first pickerel of the day, little guy. Which I think at this point, all he managed to do was destroy my grub that I had on there as a trailer. So I believe after this, I think I had to change my grub. But he did a nice job on the grub. I don't know so much from him biting it, just the way they go crazy when you pull them out of the water. Up next here, this was the highlight of the day as far as fish size goes. Pete, you guys know, I talk about Pete from Stoneman and Son Lures, custom paint maker in Rutland, Vermont. Does a great job. You've seen a lot of my videos. If you haven't, just go back in the archives, check out anything you see Stoneman and Son Lures. And Pete sent me this square bill crankbait, I believe the day before. I think on Wednesday I got it in the mail, that he custom painted. And, we were talking about some of our favorite colors, and I always like the browns and oranges. And so he made this brown, kind of like this crayfish with some orange on the belly, 2.5. And I tied it on and chucked it up. You see that big rock there? I chucked it up right by the left side of that rock and caught this nice largie. This was the biggest fish of the day. So if your bait maker sends you a bait and you go catch the biggest fish of the day on it the next day, that's a good bait maker right there. So I think if this fish was really full, he might be over 4 pounds. I don't know. He had a pretty big mouth. But you can, like, half his stomach was kind of like bulging out from something he ate, and the other half was kind of sucked in still. But that's the square bill right there, and that's just me saying, there's Pete, Stoneman and Son Lures. And it's a nice one. It was definitely the biggest fish of the day. But you get a good look at him. And then I'm going to just swing the boat around because the wind was blowing me into the rocks. I didn't want to smack my trolling motor into the rocks. Like a day that started calm and sunny turned into like a windy, cloudy, you could tell the front was coming in. So I'm just going to go. And here I'm just going to show you guys a better view of the fish. I hope that didn't mess up. I just had to stop my recording for a second. Hope I didn't mess anything up. But there's that fish, and there's that square bill that Pete made for me. Really Does nice work. Really does nice work. So the best I can do trying to pick that up and show it to you without getting this hook in my finger. But nice bass, brand new lure. It's always fun. And here's some great shots of me, one whiffing on a frogfish. There's another view of me whiffing on that frogfish. I don't remember how many blowups I had, and I just could not get them. So I figured, I'll just keep having a miserable frog day and throw this down there and boom and miss. So that's my that's some of my frog misses of the day. Thought you guys would enjoy that. Then I start working up the other shoreline. I was getting ready to head back home, so I usually hit this shoreline and I flip it, and I don't really do that great, flipping the jig along there, even though it looks great. There's that beaver hut, there's lots of rocks, there's trees. So I was going to stay out and throw the chatterbait. And, as soon as I start working up the shoreline, I throw the chatterbait, catch a nice bass. Okay, good. So I'm going to just stay out, away from the, away and cast towards the shoreline. Catch that largie. Next cast. Throw it up there by the rock, by the beaver hut there. Working it back, and there's another largie. So, I'm thinking, wow, this shoreline's going to be loaded up. As it turned out, it was pretty good, as you'll see. You know, 2 in a row is always nice, back to back on the chatterbait. Another decent largie. And I just kind of kept working up, and then I'm kind of eyeballing that tree there, that branch in the water. I think that's new. I hadn't seen it before. I get hit there, miss whatever it is, and it kind of felt, I was starting to get the idea that maybe there was some pickle around just by the way he hit that. You could feel it was like somebody hitting at the trailer, and then so I chucked the chatterbait up again here, right kind of next to where that tree is in the water. And I'm sure you guys can guess. The old pickerel decided to, he got it this time, after missing it a couple times. He got it that time. And this is a small one. He's gonna, luckily he, I wish they would just shake themselves off right there. So he was nice. He went crazy before I could grab him and shook himself off and banged his head on the side there. So now I'm eyeballing that tree, and of course I got to take the jig and throw the jig in there. And after about 2 or 3 flips into this tree branch in the water, catch a largie. Not a big one, but I would have been shocked if there was nobody on there. If the wind wasn't really, really howling, I mean, you can't really tell it there, but it was blowing pretty good. I might have sat there a little longer and worked that tree a little longer. But as I said, I don't do great on those trees there. So now I'm working back towards the ramp, and here's a lay down. Throw the jig in there, and I get hit, and I can see the fish. He's pinned. He's definitely pinned to one of the branches in there, and I'm thinking he's off. But I can kind of see the white of his belly, so he's kind of like upside down. So I kind of just kept tension on him, but let him kind of wiggle his way out, and he did. He kind of swam out from the branch, and I caught a decent keeper. So as you can see, the sun has gone down now, so the back view isn't quite as bad. So my guess is it's just the glare coming off that, and that white shirt. Mine seems like it's got maybe the white shirt. And here's the next branch up, or tree down, or should I say lay down. Okay, so here, as I said, here's the second tree I get into, and this fish was strong. This is probably one of the better ones of the day. This is one of those 3-pound range fish, and he was pulling, and you can kind of see those branches there. He was kind of trying to wrap himself around there, and that's why I like that 20-pound fluoro. If they get in thick stuff like that, you can get them out. So that was a nice one. That was the last fish of the day, and he was a good one. So here's a, a lower view of that fish. You see, I chuck it up in there, and he's trying to dig. There's like 2 branches there, and he's trying to dig into them and get away. But I got him. Yeah, I got him. So a good finish there. I always flip that shoreline when I come back to the ramp, and sometimes that wood has nothing on it. I go through there; it looks great all the time. But this day there was a couple nice ones there, so it was a good way to finish out the day there. So a nice bass and a good day overall. Really a good day. Despite the frustration of the frog fishing and a few flipping fish that I missed, where I'd throw the tube into the weeds and they would go flying and there'd be nothing there. So overall a good day. So I'm just going to finish up. Here's the picture of that nice bass that I caught on Pete's. There's Pete's square bill right there. You can get a good look at it. So he does a great job. So that's it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon on YouTube. Mark out.